Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you'll join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in this mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, CastBox, Audible, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, Himalaya, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have two absolutely wonderful guests for you today. First, we're going to be traveling to Scotland in the United Kingdom, where we'll meet Laura Meredith. She is celebrating her debut children's book. It's called Christopher's New Home. And then later in the show, Bruce Weinberg returns to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate the latest in his fabulous Feats of Mr. B series. This episode is brought to you by Feliz Navidad. It's December of 2019, and Pittsburgh is covered in a terrible fog. Even worse, all of the reindeer get sick and they can't fly. Everyone in the North Pole is worried they'll have to cancel Christmas. But just when all hope seems lost, Santa's pet, Feliz Navidad, raises his paw to help. And while a dog is not quite a reindeer, Feliz is their last chance to save Christmas. This is a book about perseverance and grit. Feliz Navidad, the story of how Santa's dog saved Christmas. Get your copy today. Feliz Navidad by Ari and Rhea Helper. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Snoodles in Space, Episode 2, The Zoodles Strike Back, written by Stephen Joseph and illustrated by Andy Case. In this third installment of the Snoodles series, the Zoodles are determined to have their revenge. With the help of a grimy millionaire who's fallen on hard times, they intend to poison the Earth's water supply and turn everyone into willy-nillys and dilly-dallies. Can Brianna and Ricky save the Earth again? Will the outcast kids on the other side of the track rise to the challenge and help save the world? You can find out with Snoodles in Space, Episode 2, The Zoodles Strike Back. Join us right now from the beautiful nation of Scotland in the United Kingdom. Our guest is here today to celebrate her wonderful children's book. It's called Christopher's New Home. Please welcome to the show, Laura Meredith. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Wonderful. I was just sharing with Laura that my beautiful wife and I just returned from a tour of Scotland and Ireland, and what a wonderful time we had. And Laura, you'll be surprised, I think. One of the things when this trip was a long time in planning, and I had gotten to speak to a representative of the Irish government when I was at the International Children's Book Festival in Italy, and talking to our travel agents who were based in Ireland and all these other people. And we said, what should we expect when we visit Ireland and Scotland in late October? And they said, lots and lots of rain. You got to bring boots. You got to bring raincoats. You got to bring all this other kind of stuff. So we loaded up, and it only rained one day, and it was just a light rain as we walked around Killarney in Ireland. We just experienced absolutely gorgeous weather the whole 10 days that we were over there.
The sun was definitely shining upon you then. Definitely.
Yes. So, and our tour driver always would say, if it rains, don't worry, because today's rain is tomorrow's whiskey. So I guess there wasn't a lot of whiskey created while we were over there.
Probably not, no. They've probably gone on a nice break. But some days you can have 4 seasons in one day up here in the winter. But it's magical. It's a magical place.
It really is. And you were sharing with us that it was snowing this morning when you woke up.
Yeah, absolutely, completely white over. Yeah, having to dig the animals out of their shelters so that they could get some respite and some fresh air.
So speaking of animals, Christopher, the star of Christopher's New Home, is an animal. Am I right?
He is, yes. He's a sheep. Yeah.
So tell us about this incredible creature and the story.
Yeah, so Christopher's New Home is obviously based on Christopher. He was my little lamb last year. So it's all about sort of his journey of discovery and kind of belonging with, sort of an underlying message of, adoption and inclusivity. Christopher was born one of triplets, so he was only the size of the palm of your hand when he was born. Obviously disregarded by his mom because he was a triplet and very tiny. She didn't expect him to live. Thankfully, the farmers that had him scooped him up and took him inside with their dogs, and they bottle fed him for a few weeks. Then I went over to purchase some goats from them, and I heard him this little bleat from behind the barn door, and then that was it. I was just instantly in love with him, and they said, "Oh, he's very special. He needs a home." So we adopted Christopher. And he came to live here with us with a happy herd.
That's really wonderful. I just love stories of adoption, whether it's sheep or dogs or human beings. I think it's wonderful, and it's a real proof that you don't have to be bonded by blood.
No, not at all. And they say, don't they, that you meet a soulmate throughout your life, whether that is a person or an animal or, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You will know when you meet it. I've glided through life thinking I'll never actually find a true soulmate. And then I met Christopher and I knew instantly, I saw his little black sparkly eyes, his stubby legs. And that was it. I was smitten. I couldn't actually believe the farmer's wife was saying that this one needed a home. And I had to ask her twice, are you sure? You sure it's this one? She's like, absolutely. So that was it. He was soon in the car, wrapped in a blanket, snuggled up. And on the way home, I was just looking at him thinking, right, what are we going to call him? What does he look like? And we were spouting names, me and my husband and my son. And yeah, Christopher was top of the list. And when we all said it together, we knew that he was a Christopher and a keeper.
That's wonderful. Talk a little bit, because you mentioned earlier you have other sheep, and you said you're going to get some goats, and you have a little terrified dog. But you told me you don't have a sheep farm, but you obviously, I'm guessing you don't live in an apartment.
No. So we have a field. So we have a little bungalow and a field just on a hillside in Scotland. And we decided, when we moved in, the field was empty, so we needed to fill it, with some love. And by that, along came the animals. So first it was Clyde, a little lamb that was again disregarded, unfortunately, by his mom. So he was, near pneumonia state in the side of a field. Farmer really couldn't do much with him. So we decided to give him a chance. Again, scooped him up in a blanket, popped him in front of the fire, bottle fed him for a few months. And then he became Christopher's, best buddy. So Clyde came first. And then we met Christopher. So then they became best of friends. And then it just kept growing from there. People then get to know that you're the one that takes in the orphans and the sickies, as they call them here in Scotland. So yeah, we've got a few sheep now. Each have got their own very different personalities, but they're so sweet. Their souls are just so pure. We've got the goats. People said, oh, you can't have goats. They're so naughty and they'll eat everything. Unfortunately, my goats, they don't eat everything. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, Jed. But they are really, really picky, and they like their vegetables, and they love, their oats and things that we feed them. So yeah, they're quite pampered goats, but they're all pampered. And then we have a pig called Precious. We have a little miniature Pomeranian who was again a runt of a litter, and he's frightened of his own shadow. So he very much likes the house. He patrols the house. We've got Mrs. Fluffles the cat, who's afraid of mice. She saw one recently out on the patio and ran in the opposite direction. She's not much of a huntress. And then we've recently rehomed a couple of donkeys as well. So it's growing. It always grows by the day. There's always room for another.
I love that. And as you were talking about this menagerie that fills your home, I'm often our home, as I was telling Meredith, Laura before the show, our home was kind of the meeting place for our family and our extended family and our chosen family. And very often around Thanksgiving time or Christmas or just summertime when we were having cookouts, our home would be filled with all these different languages and people from every walk of life. And my wife and I would often joke about the really strange collection of people. It was very different than what you would find at most gatherings.
Yeah, I think we filled our home with animals. So they do come in as well. You know, Krista would happily wander in the kitchen and, you know, have his bottle and things. And, you know, if I accidentally leave the gate open, then they don't run away. My animals don't have any intention of ever running away. They come and stand by the back door. And then they wait as much. So I think we're doing something really naughty here, Mom, but we're just going to wait here just so you can put us back. But yeah, they're definitely the family that I have chosen.
Yeah. Now, were you always this type of person who was cheering for the underdog and reaching out to the kid at school that maybe felt left out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was always everybody's friend, always there for everybody. Absolutely.
How do you think that trait came to be in you? Was it something that your parents taught you and you were mindful of and you said, yes, I'm going to choose to do this? Or was it something else?
I think when I was very younger in school, I got bullied an awful lot. You know, I was always a little bit bigger than the other kids. I was really rubbish at sports. So I was always the last one to get picked for any team. I was the one standing there. I wasn't the prettiest one of the group. So yeah, I get left behind a lot and I got bullied an awful lot. So I think that, yeah, I saw a lot in animals. There was a small holding opposite the house where I grew up. So I used to leave nursery and leave infant school and come home. And then I used to go and ask if I could go and help look after the animals. And it was always that kind of bond I had with them. They listened to me. I listened to them and they always did as I asked. You know, the cow would always come down the field for me, let me milk her by hand. I used to drink milk out the bucket and get it all over myself. You know, the sheep would just come to me for their feed. Yeah, I never had a problem. And I think it's because I saw, you know, and I looked deep enough to see their true selves. And I listened and then they listened to me and I was always more comfortable around them. And then I think that, you know, that sense of caring, that people didn't necessarily care for me in terms of, you know, being bullied and stuff. But, yeah, that kind of then reflected on if I saw somebody else having a hard time, I just wanted to help and solve that problem.
What a beautiful thing. So many people who are mistreated or bullied or left out become really angry, and they react in a very different way. They react with anger, and they look for somebody else to hurt and to inflict the kind of pain that they experienced onto. What a blessing that for whatever reason you chose to find love.
Yeah, all you need is love. That's kind of my motto, and you'll find that in the story as well, because, you know, Christopher, for instance, and all the others, you know, he was adopted and he had to come in, and it was, you know, that sense of belonging in a new space. And I wanted him to know that he was never going to be alone. And I want the children who are reading it and the parents who are reading to know they're not alone. Christopher is there for them as much as he is there for, you know, for us. And yeah, all you need is love. And I think that the love the animals gave me when I was younger showed me that really all you did need is love. They made me feel better by being loved by them. So I wanted to do the same for everybody else.
And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, what a neat kind of conversation we can have with our kids who are experiencing bullying, but also all kids, just to sit down and to have a conversation and ask them, who are you loved by?
Yes.
Who in this world loves you? Because I think a lot of times we will focus on that hurt and when we're left out and when we're not included, and those absolutely painful times, and we need to address them and everything. But at the same time, I think too often we don't take the time to look and to realize who we are loved by and who cares for us.
Absolutely. You've got to cherish that. I always used to say to my son, I love you. Mom loves you. Is it nice being loved? And his little face would light up, and Mrs. Fluffles, our non-hunter cat, she is very much Ryan's apple of his eye, and she adores him. And again, he's got that relationship with her like I've got with all the others, with Christopher and obviously the other happy herd. But yeah, you need to cherish every moment and, embrace the love. And try and focus on that as much as you can. When I was younger, my mom was very sick with cancer as well, so I nursed her through that. And then just after having my son, I got cervical cancer. So, but I focused on the love, and it got me through.
That's, I'm really, really happy for you. And I'm hoping that the parents who are listening to this conversation and are motivated to pick up Christopher's new home and read it with their kids can share some of your story, because I think it's really inspiring and will hopefully remind us all that we are loved and that there is love in our in our lives. And I think the best way to feel that is to put it out there in the world and to love others.
Absolutely. And it is how you deliver that. And it's, about listening. I listen to all my animals and I watch them. And they will all come up to you. If you were to visit us, you're more than welcome anytime, Jed. But if you were to visit us, they will come over and they will want cuddles. So, we have shuggles here on the farm. So it's sheep cuddles. But they will actually actively come and seek those cuddles.
Wow.
And their tummy tickles, and they'll sunbathe when we've got the Scottish sun and on the hillside field, and they're there and they're laying on their backs, and you can go and just sit with them and put your head on them. They like to be hand fed. They'll follow you. They're always with me, always. It's the only unfortunate incident I had was with a ladder and a goat. Never have a ladder with a loose goat. I just didn't think he would bother, but he wanted to get up on the ladder, so I was wobbling a bit when I was trying to paint the shed. So yeah, lesson learned there. Ladders and goats don't mix. But yeah, they're all like having little puppies and toddlers, and yeah, I don't struggle for inspiration. I just look out the window and watch them in the field. Always up to mischief.
Your son must be in heaven.
Yeah, he said when you never know when you're going to make that kind of transition. So we've just lived in a normal suburban town. We had our little back garden, little front garden, driveway, that kind of thing. And yeah, when we said to him we were going to buy a very small holding on a hill in Scotland, his face went a little bit grey at first, because he was thinking, how am I going to leave my friends, civilization that he knew? And he's embraced it. He actually said it's the best thing we've ever done. He loves the animals. He's out there 2 to 3 times a day now, in his wellies, and we homeschool him now too. But yeah, and his reading has really taken off. So Ryan read all of these kind of wonderful books, a bit similar to Christopher's New Home when he was younger. And now he's got a fantastic, reading ability, and he loves nothing more than to sit and just, watch the weather outside whilst he's got his feet up, and he's, spending an hour or 2 a day reading books, which is really good. Yeah.
I think some people listening to this hear you talk about homeschooling, and they might think, it's great, Ryan has this relationship with animals, but kids who are homeschooled, they don't have a chance to socialize. They grow up and their social skills are kind of stunted, and they don't have any friends. And wow, that's really sad. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think I've had that comment before, like, you can only get so much from the farm and so much from books, right, Laura? Actually wrong. No. So Ryan's very, very sociable. He gets, all of his behavior traits and things. He will learn a lot from the literature that he is reading, and what he is learning. And he's learning at, a faster pace than he would be in mainstream school, because we're here with us, and, we have a focus on that 5 days a week. And as for integrating with others, then he goes to lots of different clubs. So he still gets to do what everybody else does. He's actually playing basketball for the county, which is fantastic. He loves to play golf now. We're in Scotland. He's found a new love love for golf. He goes to play chess, and all sorts. So, young farmers. So there's lots of things there that help him keep those social skills at a great level.
Mhm.
And not forgetting technology. We have technology, which probably, when you and I have grown up, wasn't really there, to talk to friends. So yeah, we have the internet and phones, which is great. So he's always communicating.
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning we didn't have technology. I had a can with the string on it, if I wanted to talk to one of my friends. That was about it for me in technology.
I remember making those when I was a kid. Yeah. Oh yeah. So no, he has all of that, and he doesn't want or desire anything further because he gets to do all the fun stuff anyway.
Right. I wanted to talk and give you a chance to talk about that because I've exhibited at a couple of homeschool conventions, and you meet all sorts of kids. You certainly meet some kids who are a little goofy and might have some issues socially, but for the most part, the kids that I met there had lots and lots of friendships and really enjoyed being homeschooled, and certainly didn't seem to be lesser because of that choice their family made.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan always sort of describes it that it's like school with the good bits, without the bad.
Right.
So for him, the bad bits of school would be, being told to shut up in class, not being able to talk to his mates when he wants to, and not being able to play sports when he wants to, whereas if he wants to get, like he does archery and stuff, he can go outside, he can actively do that. He's got his basketball hoop. He'll go and practice his moves ready for his lesson on an evening. So he's got all that. And when his friends come home from school, he's finished too. So, then they converse and things. So they're doing exactly what they would be doing. He's just not getting told to hush in class. He just gets that from me.
Tell me, did you, when you were younger and spending this time with the animals that you were helping to care for, did you always dream that one day you would grow up to be a children's author?
No, I never thought it possible. Little Laura from the countryside, we had a tiny house in the country. Like me, no, that's for famous people, isn't it? Surely. But my imagination, was huge when I was a child. I'd always had, was having imaginary friends and what we would be doing and the adventures that we would be having and all this, that and the other. I never had a problem with spending time on my own or, my imagination running wild. So yeah, it was always there, but I never, ever, ever thought it was possible. And then, a few years ago, somebody just told me to get out of my own way, stop it. Why have you got an ego, Laura, saying you can't do that? You can. Anybody can do what they want to do. They put enough passion behind it and you stay true to yourself. And then that was it. Obviously, we rehomed Christopher and the inspiration just came. And I didn't know how to channel it. I just kept saying to my husband, well, what about this? And what if he did that? And look what he's doing now. And look at them all. And then I just started just jotting bullet points down on paper. And they became sentences, became paragraphs. And then there was the book, there was another book and so forth. So, they just kept coming. And then I thought, okay, let's go and put my big girl pants on and pitch to a publisher, which I did. And then thankfully, after a long wait, they got back to me and said that they'd be delighted to publish, and that they really saw the message that we wanted to deliver, about, cherish every moment. All in all you need is love. So, yeah.
That's really wonderful. It sounds like your home in terms of animals is pretty full with the goats and the sheep and the dog and the donkeys. But one of the things that I really fell in love with while I was in Scotland were I call them hippie clowns. Cows, hippie clowns. I was looking at
the Highland cows.
The Highland cows with the bangs in front of there and the horns. They look so cool.
Yes. Yeah, they are beautiful animals, aren't they? And they're very heavy creatures. I think we would love some if we had a little bit more room, for them to roam. Our acres, we only have a few acres, which is fine for obviously sheep and goats and the pig and things and the chickens to run free, but the bigger animals need a bit more space. So yeah, it kind of wouldn't be fair, I don't think. And I think the sheep and goats may fall down the dints they might make in the grass, because they are really, really heavy animals and we get a lot of rain.
We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Christopher's new home and also find out more about you.
Yeah, so we have a little website, which is ilovechristopher.org. So there's lots of information on there about where you can buy the book, which is available on Amazon, and all about us, and and the Sheepy Shakes, because there's a little song in the book too, which is the Sheepy Shakes.
Awesome. I got to tell you, Laura, I've had such a nice time speaking to you, but I'm a little disappointed.
Oh gosh.
Okay. When you told us about your website, you said we have a little website, which is cute, but I was waiting for, we have a wee website, and
yeah, I haven't got my Scottish lingo yet. I must say
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Christopher's New Home. Our guest has been Laura Meredith. Laura, thanks you so much for being with us.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you, Jed.
This episode is brought to you by OnceUponADance.com. Take storytelling to a whole new level. With Once Upon a Dance, your child will do more than just listen. They'll move, imagine, and connect. It's a literary adventure and a performance all in one. From graceful turns to energetic leaps, each story brings an immersive experience that engages both body and mind. Whether your child enjoys unicorns, bats, zombies, or cats, Once Upon a Dance has a Dance It Out story just for them. Celebrate joyful movement and visit OnceUponADance.com or find them at your favorite social media platform. This episode is brought to you by the Logan series. 3 wonderful books written by Christine Ritchie McNamee. Logan and the Missing Masterpiece, Logan and the Lost Luggage, Logan and the Missing Jewels. Logan and the Lost Luggage is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read, and all 3 of these books feature Logan, an adorable Cocker Spaniel who travels the world with his magic phone. You and your kids are going to love traveling around the world with Logan, meeting animals from all over the world, visiting different countries, and learning how to get along with people from other countries and other cultures. It's a beautiful series of books. Our Reading with Your Kids certified great read panel loved Logan and the Last Luggage. We know you're going to love all 3 books. Check it out today. The Logan series by Christine Ritchie McNamee. My friends, we are in for a fun time tonight. Joining us from the great state of Florida, our guest is here today to celebrate the latest book in his fabulous feats of Mr. B series. Please welcome back to the show the author of Jairobi from Nairobi, Bruce Weinberg. Hey, Bruce, how are you?
I'm great, Jed. It's great to be back. It's been a little while.
It has. It's good to see you. Now, let's remind everybody, who is the fabulous Mr. B?
Well, some people would suggest that the fabulous Mr. B is very similar to me in the sense that he's aging slightly. He's a drama teacher, which I was a drama teacher for 35 years. He's quirky and funny and whatever. So I think the inspiration was probably, my own life and my own experiences in the classroom.
Yeah. What a neat thing to be a drama teacher. We've spoken to lots of teachers here, and we've spoken about education a lot here on the podcast. It seems like drama is that one subject where you can, instead of expecting kids to sit down and memorize things and spit them back, a drama class is a place where you're really asking kids to step out of their comfort zone and grow and be creative and expressive and express themselves.
Well, that's absolutely true, but unfortunately, as you probably know, lots of state educational programs are cutting the arts. So, any kind of arts like drama, chorus, bands, regular art or whatever are being cut for academics, because that is definitely, part of the core curriculum, but I happen to think that, drama is such an important component, especially for certain students that are passionate and, want the ability to be creative and have self-expression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't, I don't want to get into a long thing, a rant about education, but, we've had so many people on the show, educators, experts on the show saying, if we did things this way, there's all sorts of research that says kids would learn better. But we don't do that. We seem to, the public servants, the politicians in charge of education who aren't in the classrooms are making lots of decisions that don't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Well, I look at it from different vantage points because, like, for instance, I've known of students that were very passionate about sports, and they would live and breathe it, and so would their coaches, and so would their administration or whatever. But the same degree of enthusiasm, was not there for the arts, and that would be something that always frustrated me, in that light, because it's something that the kids that are passionate, it's the thing that they love to do the most, and they live and breathe it.
Yeah. And there's no, you can't. I coached at a very competitive soccer team at a high school here in Boston, and there was no problem getting kids to practice or getting kids to cooperate or go above and beyond and stay late and practice. It was just there, and it would be wonderful if we could figure out a way, find that kid's interest, whether it's sports or the arts or an academic subject, and try to figure out a way to harness that passion so that they're also learning if they're a soccer player, they're also learning the physics of soccer and what's going on with the balls and when they're kicked. That way they're learning that math and that STEM while they're thinking that they're just playing the sport that they love.
Well, I agree with exactly what you're saying, and I can give you the theater equivalent to that, in the sense that when you're doing competition or you're doing a play or whatever, the student immerses himself or herself into the character to the point where when they step on the stage, they're not that student anymore. They're now, the person that they're acting. So it's that kind of like a, commitment and intensity and focus that makes them love what they do. And those are the kinds of kids that I've always kind of been drawn to. Yeah.
And you could take that passion, that kid who goes on stage and becomes somebody else, and there's so many different ways to teach the other subjects through that, through that channel. Let's talk about the psychology of this character, and that student is going to want to get to know that and understand that. And let's talk about the math and whatever that he had to go through to get to this particular place in time. And just a little bit of creativity and permission for teachers to be creative, I think, would go a long way.
Well, as a former teacher, I can tell you that I've been disappointed because what the schools want you to do is to teach to the test. All right. However, they don't want you to do anything that's related to thinking outside the box or critical thinking. So in that regards, those are like skills that I think are like essential for students to be able to be successful in life. And we're not providing that for them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about Jairobi from Nairobi, because it's obvious this passion that you have for kids, for education, for drama. You find that in the book. You find that in your writing.
I appreciate that. I have to say that Jairobi is actually my favorite book of the three, and the reason is that each of the books have sort of a theme to it, but this theme is special to me because it deals with a new student who is not from the United States, but is from Africa, who joins Mr. B's class. And, there's always that kind of awkwardness, how do we accept him? How do we make him fit in or whatever, And so, it really has to do with the main theme of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, and to be honest with you, I'm not totally happy with the world that we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much of, backstabbing and bickering and people at odds with each other and, hatred and whatever. And so, one of the reasons that motivated me to write Jerobi was that I was like, hey, let's take a step back. And the thing is that, I know that parents and grandparents are going to read this to the younger children, and it gives them the opportunity to have an open conversation about acceptance and compassion and, doing the right thing and, knowing that, we're not all the same, but, we can be accepting of each other. Mm-hmm. So that was really my impetus for writing Jerobi.
Yeah. I'm curious. Obviously, you have a passion for kids and a passion to inspire kids to be accepting. I've always thought of, and one of the reasons I was never in the theater group. I played an instrument in elementary and middle school. High school, it was more sports. But I always say I loved helping out my kids' middle school drama club because it was the place where everybody was welcome. You didn't have to be a star athlete. You didn't have to fit in. You didn't have to be a great actor. You didn't have to act at all. There was a role for you, whether it was backstage or building the props or helping with costumes. And it seems like that's the kind of world that you're kind of talking about, building. We're a place where everybody's accepted.
Well, it is close knit.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. There's no one is judgmental. No one judges you on the way you look or the way you dress or, what color your hair is or, whether you're wearing, what kind of earrings you're wearing or whatever, or, whatever. It's just, it's not like that, with the theater kids that I've worked with. It's just, they're so accepting and so loving and so giving, and and they really feel like that they're part of a very unique family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was one of the things I experienced working with my kids and helping out with their program. It was just, it really was a warm and family kind of feel to it.
Well, there's no wrong. Mm-hmm. If you know what I mean. I mean, it's like everyone is accepted and everyone is part of it, and they're all contributing in their own unique way. Like, for instance, there's going to be kids that are better actors and singers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that's a given. But then there are kids that are brilliant when it comes to lighting and sound effects and working, working a lighting board or building scenery or whatever, or making costumes or doing makeup or whatever. It's just everybody has their own unique gifts and special talents, and it just all comes together in this kind of glorious, wondrous way.
Yeah. That's one of the things. My daughter got into the music business after college and during college. And one of the things I knew from my own work doing educational magic shows for 35 years, I knew that there was more people putting on a show than just the singer in the spotlight. But with my daughter was working all the huge concerts in Boston, and to find out that a show like Katy Perry's show had 9 buses for the cast and the crew, and there's 9 tractor trailers bringing all the equipment from city to city, and and then some of the people were going on planes, and just the number of people, that's like a small town of people that's traveling the country, putting on shows.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating. I used to be the artistic director at Dillard School of the Arts, which is a performing arts high school in Broward County, and we had negotiated a contract with the Broward Center for the Performing Arts, the small theater. However, we were right next door to some of the, bigger shows. So if you can imagine, before the movie Wicked came out, how many buses it took to load in, Wicked on the main stage. It was incredible. The kids are like looking at it like, oh my God, or else if they saw someone that was, remotely like a star, they're like, they had, stars in their eyes, and they're like, they couldn't believe it, but everybody has to start somewhere, Jed, as you know.
Absolutely. And I love that Jerobi from Nairobi would be a great way to start having conversations with our kids about that. Just looking deeper into, we see all this division and bickering and arguing on TV, especially when it comes to our politicians and public figures. And if we could take a moment, especially now when it seems that everybody hates each other and everybody's on a different team, if we could sit down and realize that, that phone that I want you to stop looking at every day, do you know how many people have to work together to make that thing work, and just start thinking about all the people that are involved in all the different things that make our lives wonderful. And we can start to realize that, well, maybe we're not as divided as we think. Maybe people are getting along in some areas, and maybe that can be a good sign that our whole community can come together.
Well, I appreciate what you just said, but I'll play devil's advocate for a second, okay? In the sense that I actually believe that technology, whether it's the camera on your phone or social media or whatever, has made the situations that we live in, especially for school kids, okay, it's made it terrible. There's, there's cyberbullying. There's, people are being criticized for the way they look and the way they dress and, or the way they act or whatever. And it's like, and there's kind of like this, like, mean thing going on that's just, not really nice or appropriate, So I feel like that if Jairobi at any level can, cross that bridge, so to speak, and say, like, look, we're all the same. We're not really that different. We breathe, we eat, we talk, we share, we pray, we do all these things, and it doesn't matter, who we respectively are, because, we should just try to put our differences aside and get along.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And agree, going back to your point, I agree technology is being used in horrible ways. And, this could also just lead to a great conversation with our kids about using technology appropriately and respectfully. You and I are here in different ends of the East Coast, and we're able to talk to each other and look into each other's homes through the magic of technology. So we can use it wonderfully and respectfully in a good way.
And I thank you for the opportunity, because I feel like, what you're doing, is really a superb thing to share authors' opinions and thoughts and, get them out there for the rest of the world to see, so that at some point in time, maybe we can be a platform for change.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you taught school for many decades, taught in the drama programs. After spending 35 years on stage myself, I know all sorts of crazy, wild, wonderful things happen on stage. Can you think of maybe the wildest thing that unpredictable thing that happened on stage in your career, whether it was a mistake or a mix-up or even just a wonderful improv?
Well, the typical one is that, see, I'm not really, like I have this, like this creative aspect of me, and I'm really good at directorial vision and coming up with stuff conceptually, but I'm terrible with anything behind the scenes. So I would build scenery and it would fall down on top of the kids, that type of thing. I do remember a time actually because the administration of almost every school obviously does not let you bring in a real gun, so you have to bring in a fake gun, or a water pistol or whatever. So then you have to have the sound effect in the booth, to make the sound of the gun being shot. Bang, right? And so in one of the scenes, the kid had the water pistol gun out, and it was painted gray. It looked like a gun or whatever. And so he pulls the trigger, and nothing happens. And then he pulls the trigger, and nothing happens. I don't know what happened. Like the guy in the sound booth must have fell asleep or something. Because then all of a sudden he pulls the trigger and he goes, bang! So, live theater, what can you do?
Yes. Well, that's one of the wonderful things about live theater. I remember taking a question one time after one of my performances, and a kid said, have you ever made a mistake on stage? And I said, oh, you obviously didn't catch the ones I made today. Great.
Yeah, it's funny. But, interestingly enough, even, the mistakes help make you think about quick resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think on your feet, because you're thinking okay, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah.
Of course everybody laughed when he said bang, but the thing is that, at least he figured out that it's not going to make a sound, so I might as well make it for it.
Yeah. Quick thinking, that's a great skill to have when you're in a job situation or whatever, any kind of situation when something goes wrong, being able to be resilient enough to come up with a solution without falling apart.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I know it's been a while since we've chatted, but I feel very strongly about this book, about Jerobi, because, it is theme based and it does teach a lesson. And, I kind of love everything about it. I wrote it, with the concept in mind of having a new kid come into the class. Then over time, as I was continuing to write it, I was like, well, what happens if the kid isn't from the United States? What happens if the kid is totally different and from a different place? Because I could have said, okay, there's a kid named Jed that used to live in Boston, but his family moved to Fort Lauderdale, and now he's attending, a high school in Fort Lauderdale. And that's okay. I mean, there is some degree of, acceptance, I suppose, but Jed's going to do just fine, because he's going to find his clique. He's going to find what he likes to do. He's going to find his passion. He's going to find, playing sports or doing theater or playing soccer or whatever, and then you're going to be fine. But it's not the same if you have a kid from Africa come into the classroom, because they are so different. Mm-hmm. I mean, they dress differently, they look differently, they speak differently. So I decided to really go in that direction and go in that vein, because I thought it was really important to show that kind of distinction and make it more unique, I guess maybe as a conflict for Mr. B, for the kids in the classroom, the regular kids, and for Jerobi. It's like, how do they become friends? How do they get along? How do they make him feel like he's part of the class?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was my reason behind it.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I think it's a great catalyst to some fantastic conversations that we can have with our kids about acceptance, about inclusion. And one of the things I used to love to encourage my kids to do was to be the one that went over and welcomed a new student to the class or a new student to, the club or the church or whatever. Just you be the one that go over there and welcome them and invite them to be part of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's a great idea for every school to do, because you need someone that's going to make you feel comfortable, especially on your first day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we should tell people where they can go to find out more about the fabulous feats of Mr. B, Jerobi from Nairobi, and the other 2 books in the series.
Well, the play that I'm writing is actually, the publisher has designed the cover and the back cover, so they're actually waiting for the manuscript for that. And my wife and I are doing final edits on that, and then we'll get it turned in. And I'm very excited about that project because theater is so much a part of me, and I judge a lot of kids at competitions, and I just felt that they needed better material to to compete with. So that was my reasoning for writing the play. As far as all 3 of the Fabulous Feats books, all 3 are available on Amazon and KDP.
Excellent.
So they can go on. In fact, it's available for purchase now.
Wonderful.
Jerobi is available for purchase now.
So they can just go on and search Bruce Weinberg, and it'll pop up.
Or just search The Fabulous Feats of Mr. B on Amazon.
Wonderful. We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Fabulous Feats of Mr. B. The newest book is Jerobi from Nairobi. Our guest has been Bruce Weinberg. Bruce, thanks for being back with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always enjoy talking to you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We also hope that you'll take the time to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your favorite shows. We'd also really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review. We'd love for you to connect with us on social media, Facebook.com/ReadingWithYourKids, @ReadingWithYourKids on Instagram, and @JedleyMagic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, YouTube.com/ReadingWithYourKids. You can find all of our Drawing With Your Kids videos on our YouTube channel. And of course, we would love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can check out our blog, visit our Reading With Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame, and use the contact button up at the top of the page to send us a message. Let us know what you love about the show. Let us know what we could be doing better. And let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of Reading With Your Kids. And if you are an author, please do be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of readingwithyourkids.com to find out how you can be a guest. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy. It gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlet fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. You can also learn about our very fun and effective promotional services. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our amazing guest, Bruce Weinberg. Please be sure to check out The Fabulous Feats of Mr. B. And also Laura Meredith. Please be sure to check out Christopher's New Home. I want to thank my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Railing Tang. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Yeah.